The interview process is a crucial step in hiring and vetting candidates. After you've reviewed applications and resumes to pick a group of candidates, you will want to interview them to figure out which individual is right for the job and also to leave candidates with a good impression of your company. In this session, we will learn key tips in preparing for interviews and explore some sample questions to consider. Disclaimer: the information contained here has been prepared by Civitas Strategies Early Start and is not intended to constitute legal, tax, or financial advice. The Civitas Strategies Early Start team has used reasonable efforts in collecting, preparing, and providing this information, but does not guarantee its accuracy, completeness, adequacy, or currency. The publication and distribution of this information is not intended to create, and receipt does not constitute, an attorney-client or any other advisory relationship. Reproduction of this information is expressly prohibited. The sessions presented in this series are built on our structured system of recruiting and hiring called Lean Recruitment, which was conceptualized and built by Civitas Strategies President and CEO Gary Ramato. Lean Recruitment is specifically designed to support small businesses in this area, and over the last few months, we've been increasingly tailoring lean recruitment concepts and best practices for childcare providers. To give you a little bit of context, in our work nationwide, both in early education and childcare, and with other clients we work with, we bear witness to workforce challenges that small businesses face every day. Our goal in designing this series was to support childcare business owners in meeting workforce recruiting challenges that you have today. During an interview, you want to find out more about the candidate's personality, experience, work ethic, skills, and techniques, and any other qualities that are important for your new team member to have. So, let's dig into some ways to help you be successful in that goal. For today's conversation, we will explore how to conduct an interview, learn how behavioral questions can help you when interviewing, and discover the types of questions that are illegal to ask of a candidate. Now that you have a group of top candidates, we can move on to interviewing them. Interviews are a key part of the recruiting process. They help you find out more about the candidate's personality, experience, work ethic, skills and techniques, and any other qualities that are important for your new team member to have. Set up interviews with these applicants and be sure to confirm dates and times along with any helpful information. Schedule yourself so that you have adequate time before the interview to prepare for the conversation and enough time afterward to capture your thoughts on the candidate. Have your interview questions ready. Each candidate should be asked the same questions, so it's helpful to have a prepared interview question form to keep you on track. Plan to use behavior-based questions asking the applicant to give you an example from their own experiences or background. At the same time, you want the experience to be a conversation. It's okay to ask follow-up questions to dig deeper or clarify details as needed in a back-and-forth way. Along the same vein, you should include time for the candidate to ask questions of you. Be as clear as possible in your interview about your business needs, expectations, valued skills, and what sets you apart. This is a time for the candidate to tell you about themselves, but also for you to tell the candidate about your business. Consider non-traditional approaches to the interview time, such as a role play covering parent communication or submitting a sample lesson plan. You will want to ask questions in the interview that will help you get to know the candidate better and learn what sets them apart from other candidates you are interviewing. Behavioral questions are interview questions designed to give the interviewer powerful insight into the candidate's values and mindset by asking them to describe scenarios that demonstrate their attitudes toward work and how they typically react to various situations and challenges. Answers to behavioral questions are also harder to make up or lie about. Competency-based questions are those that will help you learn about the candidate's experience and job-related skills. Answers to these questions can help you understand how much the candidate knows about child development, for example, or if they know what to do in certain situations that might come up. I mentioned behavioral questions. Let's talk more about those because they're essential to getting the most out of the interview. Plus, it's a different way of asking questions than the usual. These are structured to provide examples of past behavior. You should utilize behavioral questions that especially focus on how the candidate manages stress or competing priorities. For example, tell me about a time you had a child that was pushing you to your limits. What did you do? Or, how do you handle a situation where you have 3 children needing different things and you are by yourself? Questions like this avoid simple, reflexive responses and provide you with additional insight into the candidate's experience, temperament, and decision making. These questions can parallel the qualities or circumstances you have in your business, and you may want to think about tailoring them depending on the role you're interviewing for. Here's an example of what that looks like. Behavioral questions are ones that require the interviewee to draw on their past experiences to better understand what's not spelled out in the candidate's resume. In order to answer this type of question, the interviewee needs a response well beyond the typical yes or no. Here, for example, we could say, "Are you able to handle difficult conversations with coworkers?" And most people would just say, "Of course." Asking the question this way gives you some details and insight into past behavior, and they're more difficult to fake. Here's another example of inviting the candidate to describe their previous work experience, which allows you to have insight into how they approach their work and how they describe their actions. As you listen to the candidate's answers, think about what you are learning about the candidate from what they are describing. This type of question really allows you to consider their decision making, their temperament, their approach to problem solving. Lots of insights are difficult to learn from traditional interview questions. The theory behind these type of questions is the more accurate predictor of future performance is past performance in a similar situation. While not every candidate you interview may have direct childcare experience, they may have other work experience, school experiences, or experiences with children that are comparable. We've gathered a few top tips to support you in conducting interviews. For example, do create a comfortable environment for the candidate. Beyond being a courtesy, this will be the best way to get to know your interviewee. Similarly, don't ask personal or discriminatory questions. Do be thoughtful about your questions ahead of time and keep them focused on job-related information. Do ask follow-up questions to get additional information if necessary. You want to lead the conversation and make the candidate feel comfortable, but don't dominate the discussion or talk over the interviewee. Close the interview, giving the candidate clear next steps, but don't make any promises, even if you feel great about the interview. When conducting interviews, you should also be aware that there are types of questions that you can't ask of the applicant because they are illegal. You must avoid questions around the following areas. Age. Questions like, how old are you? When did you graduate? How long before you plan to retire are all illegal to ask in an interview. Religion. Questions like, what religion do you practice? Where do you go to church? Should not be asked. It's important to note that the one exception is if there is a bona fide occupational qualification. This means that having a specific job-related rationale that is clearly a necessity for success in the position. Religious-based childcare programs are a common example of this exception. Justifying a bona fide occupational qualification can be complicated, so you may want to seek legal counsel ahead of pursuing these questions. Family status. Questions like, what do your husband do for your living? Do you have children? Are you married? Do you plan to have children? And are you pregnant are not okay to ask. Race, ethnicity, or national origin. Questions like, what country are you from? Where were you born? What neighborhood do you live in? And are you a U.S. citizen are illegal to ask. Disability. Questions like, what is your weight? Or, have you had a major illness in the last year are not okay to ask either. For more early care and education resources, please visit the Wisconsin Early Childhood Association website at wisconsinearlychildhood.org. If you are not a member of the Wisconsin Early Education Shared Services Network, visit wisconsinearlychildhood.org/programs/WEESSN to learn about the business training and support it offers, as well as information on joining WEESSN.